Hey, I have been in AI slash machine learning engineering for a while, and I would like to clarify a couple of bits about context engineering because context engineering is now evolving as the next natural step from prompt engineering, and obviously you have to understand a couple of concepts to operate within that a little bit better. And the first concept to understand is signal to noise ratio. I would like you to imagine the signal and noise. Signal is a thing which is the useful information given to your model, whereas noise is useless information given to your model. And if you can imagine that in any ways, that would be imagine a room and high signal to noise ratio, a big gap between noise, how much noise is there, and how much useful signal is there to the model is better because it's like going into the room, which is quiet and everyone listens to you and it's easy to talk, etc. Whereas low signal to noise ratio is when you get into the party at the bar and you cannot speak and you have to speak loudly and people can barely hear you and etc. So this is a metric that literally tracks one of those core measurements at which you track the how good your context engineering is. If you remember, in 2017, they released the paper called Attention is All You Need, the life-changing for AI industry paper that introduced GPTs, transformers. And in those papers, they introduced how attention across model works. This attention, there's this concept called attention budget. Attention is built upon, it's regulated by tokens. If I'm not mistaken, to express myself that way, those tokens have costs, and the more tokens you include in your input, the more cost it will involve, and it probably will create more of a noise. When you fill the context with a lot of irrelevant information, the model wastes this attention processing because there are too many tokens, and it gets distracted, and the noise is the decision-making process gets worse because it just has a lot of this data that, like in that room, in that bar that you're talking and no one hears you. And the model does the same thing when there is a lot of a signal to noise ratio is low. It cannot make as relevant informative decisions as it would if it has the narrower context, and the path to making that decision would be a lot easier because it does not need to be distracted by anything else, by those axes of tokens. Context engineering, as I've already said, is next natural, this evolution after prompt engineering. And with prompt engineering is asking the question, what do I say? Like, what do I write to the model that it does what I do and it does it in the best possible way? The context engineering is there for takes a step up and is there for deciding which pieces of information, which tokens to present to the model, and which tokens the model sees at any given moment. E.g., especially it works in multi-agent systems when, for example, I was talking about LangGraph the other day, and in LangGraph, if you're looking at those graphs, you have everything in sequence, and if the model has the context, everything dumped into one node, then it would, it just doesn't need that at some point. But if the more you grow the context, at certain points you need more context, but at certain points you just don't, because it creates more of a noise in the context. That's why this is the biggest difference between context engineering and prompt engineering. Context engineering matters a lot. One of its problems is context rot. It's the more you give tokens to the model, its ability to reason well goes down, and this is a diminishing returns problem. That term that I just mentioned, attention budget, it's stretched. Too much context and it will cause forgetting, confusion, etc. Have you noticed that if you go to any kind of platform, ChatGPT and Claude, you open Perplexity, when your thread is getting too long, I've noticed that in Perplexity only because I use it the most, but you get the window popping up saying thread is getting too long, please create a new one for a better answer. This is what I'm talking about. The context window gets too full, there's too much of everything that it can't take anything else, and afterwards it just creates confusion. It can forget the information, it can just do bad things regarding the output. This is why use the context window responsibly. If there's one thing to remember from everything that I've learned this week is be aware of tokens. More doesn't always mean the better, and just keep in mind that certain context is needed at certain points of time, and yeah.